I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the Marching Band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Welcome into Kickin' It. I am Grant Mahoney. I have fired Jeff. Those of you who listened to last week's episode know that Kickin' It is coming to a close soon. I am unfortunately stepping away, but Jeff will continue on the podcasting legacy. Kickin' It is brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing. So we want to thank Jeff Kelderman and those down in Oskaloosa for taking a chance on us. Really, he jumped the gun and decided to sponsor Jeff and I when you know what you're getting from Jeff. You know, some analogies, maybe a little long-winded at times, but great insight into everything nonetheless. Didn't know what you're getting from me, so this has been a fun venture for me. So thank you to Jeff Kelderman and those down at Kelderman Manufacturing. Go ahead and check them out at keldermanmanufacturing.com, or maybe just be kelderman.com. This is a special episode for me. We have, as you can tell by the title, we have Brett Culbertson, Shaggy joining us, and Mike Brandtner. I mentioned it in the episode that these two guys were the GOAT kicker and punter for me. They both brought me under their wing when I was just a wee, young, 142-pound true freshman kicker. Culbertson's first year out was my first year in, but I competed against Brett at camps my senior year of high school, his senior year of college, that we talk about a little bit. And then Mike, I played with Mike for 2 years, one under Chizik, one under Rhoads, early in my career. So it was nice to catch up with them, see what they're doing, reminisce on some of the glory days, and just make a fun final podcast out of it. I say final podcast. We do have a special guest that'll be joining us next week. So this is the prequel to the Kickin' It finale. I'm not gonna waste any time. I got half hour from both Culbertson and Brandtner, so I'm gonna jump right into it. We don't have a what did Jeff miss this week in social media because Jeff is not here. But I want to make the Culbertson interview sponsored by the Iowa Pork Producers. Thank you to the Iowa Pork Producers for sponsoring us. They've been a loyal sponsor of the Kickin' It podcast for about a year now. So thank you to the Iowa Pork Producers for sponsoring the show, and let's get into it. This is Brett Culbertson. And so now I'm going to welcome in my GOAT, Iowa State kicker. Some fans know him as Shaggy. I know him as Brett Culbertson. Brett, thanks for joining me here.
Appreciate it. Not so shaggy anymore.
That's right. Cleaned up, as handsome as ever.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Yeah, so we're doing an episode today where both you and Brandtner are joining us, and you guys really took me under your wing. So I want to first thank you guys for doing that. You know, your first year out was my first year in, and I remember at the Coles, it was at the elite camp that you and I were kicking back and forth against each other, and we had a nice contest there. And I was like, man, it was really cool for me to go against you at when I was a high school senior and you were a college senior.
Yeah, and it was in Wisconsin. I remember that well too, because it was when the Coles camps were a little bit smaller. The elite camp was a little bit smaller, but I mean, like I remember like Thomas Morstead was there and a couple other guys. I don't know if Pat McAfee was there or not, but
I think he was.
It was you. It was like you and me in the kickoff final. It was us two, the final two. And Jamie was like, dude, you gotta beat him. Like you're not at Iowa State yet. He was like, you gotta beat him, man. So, yeah. I remember that well. That was some good stuff.
And Coles camps are always great. And I know you are still doing stuff with Coles that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think when most people hear the name Brett Culbertson or Shaggy, they think about the game where you beat Iowa. So I wanted to ask you about that game. Going into that game, you'd lost to Iowa the year before. The offense, not that it wasn't rolling, obviously it was rolling enough to get you into field goal range. But if you can recall, tell me about that game. And obviously making 5 field goals in any game is cool, but then to make 5 versus your in-state rival had to be pretty sweet for you.
Yeah. Going into that game, I had missed a couple field goals the first two games. And so I think, I don't know if I was exactly expecting that. So it was kind of like, holding the field goal, we're good. And going into that game, so I had some back injuries the previous spring that have hung with me, and so that my senior season was honestly all pain on pretty much every single kick. But I remember warming up for that game, stretching out, and I remember Coach Chizik walked up to me and gave me 5 and said, "Hey man, I know you're a gamer. I just got to get it out of you." So that was kind of cool foreshadowing. And I remember, I remember every single kick, to couple 40s into the wind. The one I missed, I think I missed it left on the left post, just barely over the post. And the Jack Trice, I don't know if they still hang off to the right a little bit. But that might have got me on that one, but it ended up okay in the end.
I'm so glad I wasn't the only person to notice that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the kickers noticed that. Yeah.
Well, and we played
by that.
We played Utah one year and they were doing pull-ups on it. And then that made it tilt even more. So I think after that they straightened it out, but I definitely noticed that when I was playing. I thought, well, maybe this is just me, but
yeah.
Continue.
No, you're good. I think a couple of key things I remember about it were kind of going to that last kick. Meyer was driving the offense downfield, and I just remember Brandtner coming up to me. Actually, maybe it was the timeouts. They were taking the timeouts to set us up for it, and Meyer kind of centered the field a little bit. And I remember Brandtner specifically looking at me. He goes, "Man," he's like, "Dude, this is wild. You're about to beat Iowa." And I was just like, as an Iowa kid, I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty sweet, but the job's not done yet." And he's like, "You got it." And I didn't figure this out later, but the drive leading up to it was actually pretty cool story in itself. Meyer had pulled the huddle up, and Philip Bates, he was out kind of on the left side as a wide receiver. And he was like, "Man," and Meyer told me this later. He said, "Man, like I'm mismatched every single time. I think they had like a linebacker popping out on him to cover him or something like that." And he's like, "I got this guy." And he's like, "Give me the ball." And Meyer was like, "Okay, hey, just chill out. Like if it's another mismatch, I'm gonna look over, pad yourself on the hip." He's like, "And I'll get you the ball."
Because Phil was a freshman at that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, freshman, true freshman too, I think. Mm-hmm. And so they got lined up. Meyer's making his calls, and he looks over, and Philip is just supposed to be kind of hush hush about it. Philip's standing over there going like this to him out on the field. And sure enough, Meyer put the ball to him, and I think they both kind of pushed off of each other, and he went up and got it to set that up. So that's really what made it happen. And then field goal unit, we just got out there and did our thing. Good snap, good hold. And then I don't know, there's about 1 second left on the clock. And I remember yelling at the kickoff team. We were out there lined up, ready to take the field, just saying, "This is not over yet. This is not over yet." And then I remember they had me just kick a line drive squib kick. Probably went a little too far, probably a little bit further than it should have. And the returner picked it up, and he was kind of going back and forth. I was shadowing him, and he gained quite a few yards on it. Few too many than you feel comfortable with. But then we finally got him and sprinted over and grabbed the trophy, and that was it.
Yeah, though that reminds me of obviously Canardi knocking it through last year to beat Iowa with 7 seconds. How much time was left? I remember thinking, this isn't over. The Cy-Hawk games are always weird games, and it's really not over until it's over. So you had mentioned playing under Chizik, and both you and Brandtner played under Mac and Chizik. So I wanted to ask you, we've had Mac on the show before. He's everyone in Cyclone country loves him. So awesome guy. I never got the chance to play for him. I played for Chizik and then Rhoads. I know what it's like playing for Chizik, but I want to ask you what it's like playing for Rhoads. And if you want to compare the two, you can. Or not Rhoads. I mean for Mac.
Yep. Playing for Mac was awesome. And I think now kind of everybody's in agreement. Like whenever you see like him, like they have videos of him hyping up the locker room, like last year at games with Campbell, and like everybody who's played for him, even if you haven't played for him, you just watch it and you just like, you're ready to run through a wall for him. That's the type of guy he was, just because of the legacy he built there, but the type of person he is, and just the charisma that he has in every situation. If you're behind, if you're ahead, you got a losing season, you got a winning season, whatever it is, he knows how to get players fired up and get literally every ounce of talent, every ounce of whatever you have in you, out of you on the field. So that was kind of the coolest thing, just about playing for Mac.
Yeah, because he took over Iowa State when we've had just the shit history, and so he took over Iowa State when we've lost 15 straight to Iowa, and so to get that monkey off his back when the team really wasn't even that good. I mean, the teams really, to be honest, the teams haven't been that great until the last until Campbell got here. But I think Mac was really kind of the coach that started to right the ship and started to turn it around.
And really just kind of showed everybody like we can do it here, like we can win here. Exactly. And the Iowa State games were obviously key during that. The years previous, if I was there, they went on that big streak with Mark Cortez letter. I don't know if you know that story, and of course Jamie Cole, I know well, was back then playing back then as well. But the streak that they went on, that's really what kind of made everybody believe, man. And Seneca, obviously, we can do this here. We can win here. So,
yeah, no, and I think I hope Mac is always seen in great light, which I feel like he will.
It's cool to see that he hasn't changed a bit. Like, I run into him in the airport on a flight every now and then coming out of Des Moines and Florida, and he's the same exact guy. Talks to you like we haven't been apart for years. So.
And after you talk to him, I'm sure you feel like you want to run through a wall as well.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So I want to ask you about your path becoming the starting kicker, which is kind of an interesting one. You went to Des Moines Lincoln, which isn't really a hotbed for athletes, and then I'll let you describe your path from going from Lincoln to Iowa State and then becoming the starting kicker for Iowa State.
So at Lincoln, I grew up a soccer guy. Played a little basketball as well. And then about halfway through the freshman season, I had a couple of buddies pull me down to the freshman locker room to meet the coach. Coach Tom Alessio, who's now the head coach, head varsity coach at Lincoln, which is a long time coming. Awesome guy. I really owe a lot to him in terms of he introduced me to football, talked me into getting on the field. And then it's really like the sport of football is honestly with what I do now, really changed the course of my life. And I really wouldn't be where I am sitting right here without him having talked me into that. But Coach Alessio talked me into getting on the field. And then sophomore year, I got called up to varsity, and then played out my years at Lincoln, and then really didn't know I was going to play college football or not. I was going to go to Arizona, go to film school, get a film degree while I played for one of the community college teams, just having fun. And then really probably about 4 weeks before classes started at Iowa State, my dad was like, "Hey man, like you've got one shot at this if you want to do it." He's like, "I'm going to pay for your first semester." He's like, "If you don't make the team, you have to finish the semester and then you can transfer out if you want to." So I ended up coming in. We did a quick interview. I went in and met Don Knock, who was the DOP at the time. Went in and had no idea who I was. Said, "This is what I've done." Had a 52-yard field goal in high school. Is there a shot that I can at least have a tryout? And he said, "Yep." He said, "Come tomorrow." well, actually, that was before classes started, I think. And he said, well, I just want to make sure, as a walk-on, you're coming to this college first for the college, correct? And you just kind of say, yes, of course. And then second day of classes, I walked on, and I kicked field goals probably as best as I ever had up until that point in my career. And sent me to the sidelines. And I just remember thinking, man, if that's not what it takes, like, I don't know what it does take. And I hadn't seen a ton of D1 football because I wasn't really too entrenched in it, because I didn't know I didn't know I wanted to play college football. But then special teams coordinator, I remember him walking over, giving the nod to Don, and Don came over and talked to me, and I said, now, if you're going to do this, he's like, I want to make sure you're not going to be out in 4 weeks, or 2 months from now, you're just going to get up and leave. He's like, I need to know you're invested. And I said, yeah, of course, coach. So then I came in, and he said, okay, be there tomorrow for practice. Had no idea what time, had to figure that out, where to go, anything. Just showed up on the field like the stereotypical walk-on kicker, walking around saying, hey, where do I go? Looking like he doesn't belong. That was exactly how it started. And then I believe I was about 5 deep on the depth chart. And we had some struggles through the first part of the season. I wasn't on the travel squad. I remember watching the Iowa State game at Kinnick from my dorm room. Just literally laying in bed watching it. And they decided to travel me about halfway through the season to Colorado. And at Colorado...
This is your true freshman year, right?
Yep, true freshman year. And at Colorado, they said, hey, yeah, we're going to have you kick off. And I hit a kickoff with the wind, totally mishit the kickoff. The thing was a line drive, but with the air up there, it just kept going. And went out of the back of the end zone, or landed in the end zone. It was a touchback. And so they said, yeah, you can take the rest of them. And then our kickers, man, we struggled there as well.
Which is interesting, because Colorado's like the most fun.
Yeah,
I love
No, on the opposite sideline, there was Mason Crosby, and he had literally, I think he had the best game of his career. He had like a 56-yarder, a 54-yarder, and then hit two long 40s. And I was blown away. And I remember Mac running over the sideline, kicker net, just screaming at all the kickers, like, man, we can't even hit, a short field goal, and he's over there doing this. And then they cycled through 2 kickers that game, and then came to me in the fourth quarter, maybe third or fourth quarter, and said, well, you're next up. And our two starters, so Tony Yelk and Josh Griebon, they were both injured going into the season, so there was 2 down. And then the other 2 kickers kind of struggled that year. They were walk-ons as well. So they were just trying to get by with what they could. And then I hit 2 extra points that game. That's the only 2 chances I got that game. And then the next game was K-State against K-State at K-State. And we had a huge comeback. We came back from like 3 scores down. I think LaMarcus Hicks had an interception, returned it for 6. I think we had a long offensive touchdown, and then I had a field goal in there, as well as one of those scores went 3 for 4 and kind of solidified the spot. And then after that, kept the job for the next 3.5 years. So,
yeah, because what year was Tony Yelk at that point?
I don't know. He's probably in his 10th year. He was there forever. He had a medical red shirt, 6th year. I think he had a 6-year red shirt. So that was his. That was supposed to be his last year, and then he got a medical red shirt, and then he came back for my sophomore year. and we had to compete for the job that year as well. So,
and you beat him out that year as well too, right?
Yeah, and that's probably one of the more proud things I've done.
Yeah,
because Tony's actually a really good kicker. I know his stats in game don't show that. He only had a couple, but he's a guy who got a shot with the Falcons as a field goal kicker. He got a shot with the Jags as a field goal kicker, and one of the stronger kickoff legs I think I've ever seen in the indoor. And in the indoor, I remember him taking a kickoff, and it hit like there's beams every so often, and there's a beam going across on the far side of the field. It's probably, I don't know if it's like 30-yard line, 25-yard line, something like that, 20-yard line maybe. But he hit that ball, and that thing it hit the beam in the indoor, and it was still going up. One of the bigger kicks that I've seen, but absolute monster leg. Monster punt leg too. If the guy could have stayed healthy, he could have done some really special things.
Yeah. So now I know what you do right now, but I want you just to tell the listeners what you do. It's gonna lead into my next question for you. So what are you doing right now?
So right now I'm full time for Cole's kicking, punting, and snapping camps.
Which is Jamie Cole.
Yep, Jamie Cole played at Iowa State too. That's where I got mixed up with him, and I met him at an Iowa State camp going into my. Or when I was in high school. That's how I got mixed up with him. Just when his camps were starting to take off. And I did some stuff on the side for him as well. While I had kind of a video production company rolling, doing a bunch of, I was doing corporate sports video stuff. And started to get to the point where about 80% of what I did was for him. And to take off with my video company, I had to let go of that. Or go in with him, and we sat down one night, and I was like, this is kind of in the company's infancy, and I was like, would you ever consider taking me on full time? And he just nodded and says, yep. I didn't want to crush any dreams that you might have had, but 100%. He's like, I'd have to put you on the road as well. So right now I handle a large share of the marketing, video content, our YouTube channel. I wear a lot of different hats for it. I coached. I just got off the road from seven days down south in SEC country by myself, leading camps for 7 days. I was in Seattle. I'm heading up to Minneapolis this weekend. So do a lot of different things for them. So
yeah, so you're seeing the top talent at all these camps. You'd mentioned, being with Jamie kind of at the infancy, and I feel like, I came in, shortly after you. Obviously, I'm, 4 or 5 years younger than you. And so I still remember, Jamie's camps when they were still relatively small then, and they're like, I see videos now and they're huge. So I want to ask you, over the last 10 or 20 years, how have you seen specialists evolve, not only from a standpoint of like, man, like when I was through the camps, you'd have like 3 to 5 guys, will say, that were like just freaks. You could tell, like, yeah, that guy's a D1. Well, now I'm sure you see a lot more than that. So not only the talent, but how are you seeing college coaches approach specialists now, where they're making them more of a priority than maybe when you were getting recruited or when I was getting recruited?
Oh man, it's crazy because it changes every week, especially with the NCAA rules and stuff. Hopefully there's a little bit of a steadiness to it from now going forward. We're starting to get comfortable with the transfer portal and all those changes that have happened. But like, so, and my story that we just kind of went through, fast forward to right now, 2025, I don't know if that happens. There's definitely not schools are not necessarily carrying 5 deep, 6 deep. I mean, there used to be 12, 13 specialists on a roster. Half of them, most of them are paying their own bills. Now we're really seeing, like, with the transfer portal, coaches will get an old guy from the transfer portal that's proved himself. If you're in the transfer portal and you don't have a previous season worth of stats, a good season, man, it's going to be really tough to sign with a D1 program. You have to be coming off of a good season in the transfer portal as a kicker and punter for them to take a chance on you, because it's raw, it's proven data in game, so they can take a chance on you. So we'll see coaches take one transfer guy, an older guy, and then now we're seeing them take one senior as well. So a really good senior coming through. Yep, correct. So now they'll let those guys duke it out. I would guess the proven transfer portal guy would take priority or have kind of first dibs, and then the other guy will come in and compete. Transfer guy goes down, then the young guy can come in and prove himself. If the young guy kills it in camp and just demolishes the transfer guy, then obviously he might have a leg up with it. But the days of carrying, 6 kickers on a team, I think are definitely over. Then it's a trickle down effect. Hopefully those guys can find some success at the FCS level and D2, D3 level, whatever it might be. But we also tell guys, man, don't be afraid to take a small school offer. Don't think that I'm waiting for my Alabama offer, or I'm waiting for Penn State or even Iowa State to call to get my shot when they already have, a couple good solid guys on roster maybe. Take the small school offer, go kill it your freshman year, go kill it your sophomore year. And then if you play the transfer portal right, it can help you. I know all the seniors look at it as like, man, the transfer portal, that's terrible for high school people. Well, it is, but it can help you if you go in and you compete and you do well at another school. It can help you if you do well. It can also hurt you. Okay. If you go, 10 for 17 or something like that, or have a 32 yard average as a punter, it's not going to help you. So it's good in that respect, as you can go prove yourself on a stage in front of a crowd. Because when you have a senior, man, every single senior, none of them have kicked in front of 60,000 people, 80,000 people, whatever it might be. So whoever you are as a senior, like we evaluate talent, like raw talent, like this guy's got a leg. And we'll put him through the ringer as much as we can as well. Say, maybe this guy doesn't have it. Maybe he does. But he's done this, this, and this at camp. Or he's done this, this, and this in high school. But now you put every single one of those guys on a field in front of 60, 70, 80,000 people. It's a whole different ball game for all of them. So trying to be the soothsayer is really tough in that regard. But if you start with raw talent right there, and which is what we do, then you kind of have something to go off of. The more time you spend with a guy, maybe he's pretty hardened kid. He could do well in that situation, or we think he might do well in that situation. Ultimately, it's up to the coach to agree and say, I think he could do it, and bring him in and see what he can do. So.
Yeah, and there's one guy comes to mind for me that because I help you guys sometimes too, with the camps and stuff, and I think I helped you with, if you remember, you and I drove to Chicago a few years ago for that camp, and there was a redheaded kid there that I was like, he was young. I was like, this kid, I want Iowa State to go after him, and he didn't. He walked on to Alabama, and then he transferred to a smaller school because he wasn't playing at Alabama, and now he's going to Texas Tech. And so I'm excited. I can't remember, is that Belafonte? I can't remember what it is.
Upton Belafonte?
Yeah, Upton Belafonte. Yep. I remember seeing him. So he's going to be at Texas Tech. I remember seeing him a few years ago. I was like, this kid is just had a huge leg. But same thing. He went to, like you said, walked down to Alabama, which is great, good for you. Not many people get to do that. I don't think he was playing, so he went to a smaller school, and now he's going to get a shot back at a big school.
And even when you get a shot, it's situational. I mean, the reason they're not going to bring in 2 seniors, like, okay, so you and Zach Geyer both got a scholarship, same class. It's kind of crazy to think of. But now, like, they're not going to do that because one guy's going to, well, I shouldn't say that, but because every coach is different. But you get a couple seniors in there, I mean, somebody's going to hit the transfer portal, so you're going to lose them anyways. Yeah. If you got an extra scholarship, I guess, whatever. But a lot of it's situational. You go in and then you have to compete for it. And a lot of times, guys, man, even if you're the same talent level, one guy may have proved himself already in some way or fashion, maybe in a game or a preseason or whatever it might be. Maybe he works hard in the weight room, whatever it is. So he's got a leg up. Every situation is different. So you could still have the talent to play somewhere and not play somewhere. And we see that in the NFL as well quite a bit. We've seen some dudes, some of the bigger legs that I've seen haven't played in an NFL game. So a lot of it is situational, what the team has, and the opportunity you're presented with. And then do you take a hold of that opportunity?
Yeah. I mean, like you look at, Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys. I think I don't know his story about football, but I know he's a soccer guy, and then he kind of came out of nowhere. Now he's killing it in the NFL. Last question I've got for you here, Brett.
Sure.
So Canardi, so we're both kickers. We could talk about Canardi, Perkins, the whole special team. But I'm gonna focus just on the kicker here. Canardi is a dog. I've been pounding that drum since I heard good things about him, since I went to practice and saw him just banging kicks. So I was not surprised at all when he hit that 50, whatever it was, 54-yarder versus Iowa to beat him last year. I want to get your thoughts on Canardi and what you think, if the sky's the limit for this kid, or just what are your thoughts on Kyle Canardi?
So I've actually never met Kyle. Luke Radke, one of our other coaches, he's worked with them just a little bit. Jamie obviously knows Kyle, but man, like off the top of my head, just looking, just what you see, man, that's literally okay. So I've kicked in the Iowa State game. Cole Netton's kicked in the Iowa State game winners. That is probably the single biggest kick in Iowa State history. I mean, that was legit. Just right down the middle.
Too.
Yeah,
Hammer.
It was. So just with seeing that, I mean, yeah, the sky's the limit. I don't know if he'll ever have a bigger kick than that in his career. Hopefully he does. I mean, hopefully he scored touchdowns, but if he's put in that position, that's, I mean, not a lot of guys can step up there and do that. So that was awesome to see, and really good for him. So
I hope it's one of those things where, he's able to have bigger kicks in his career. Maybe like you said, none bigger than that. But it's one of those kicks that you can't. Yeah, that was great, but you can't rest on your laurels. You're gonna have, we're gonna need you again for bigger kicks in the future. So I don't think he's that way, but I know a lot of times, kickers can get in their own way and be head cases. And I think he's a smart enough kid and got a level head that he won't let that affect him. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a dog.
Cool, definitely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how his career continues to go. So
yeah. Well, that's all I've got for you here. Like I said, we got Brandtner coming on as well too. So really appreciate your time. It's always good to talk to you. Always good to catch up. Had to get you on before Kicking It wraps up. Like I said, you and Brandtner to me are the GOAT Iowa State kicker and punter. So I appreciate you jumping on with us.
Tell Brandtner hello. So I haven't seen him for years.
I will. I appreciate it. Thanks, Brett.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks.
We'll see you. And that was my GOAT kicker, Brett Culbertson. Dude never missed a PAT in his career. Always good to catch up with him as well too. Really solid guy. Like I said, kind of a longer episode here with both of them on, but I appreciate Brett coming on. It was always fun. Now we're going to turn over to the next guest, Mike Brandtner. As I mentioned earlier, Mike was there for 2 years with me at Iowa State, and we're going to make I'm not going to try the Irish accent that Jeff does, but we're going to make the interview here with Brandtner, sponsored by the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. So if you guys haven't bought your tickets, book them. I am looking to potentially go to Ireland after our interview last week with Rob Stone. Dude got me fired up to go to this game, to make a trip of it, check out the Guinness factory, and also go to an international WWE event. So I maybe head to Ireland as well too. But the Aer Lingus College Football Classic interview with punter Mike Brandtner. And now I'm going to welcome in Iowa State's GOAT punter for me, someone who took me under his wing when I was just a young pup as a true freshman, Mr. Michael Brandtner. Mike, how you doing?
That. I'm great, Brant. How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
I appreciate you calling me the GOAT. That's great.
you're my GOAT,
That's
man. Yeah, and like I said this to Shaggy too. I really appreciate both you and him. Kicking It is wrapping it up, so I want to make sure we had to get my GOAT specialist on before Kicking It ended.
You are our GOAT. That's what it was. You were our goat.
I appreciate that. So we had kind of talked about this a little bit before jumping on. You're about the same age as Williams, and so you kind of saw Cyclone Fanatic at its infancy stages.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you about that and what you, I guess, kind of your experience with Williams when he was getting Cyclone Fanatic started.
So Chris and I lived with each other through Adam Carper, who was a linebacker, and so Adam needed a roommate. I was looking for a place to live, and they had a room open up, and it was another guy named Matt Lunn, who's another buddy of theirs, but it was right on Welch Ave, and I can tell you early on for Cyclone Fanatic, Chris Williams was on his computer. It was very, very early stages of it. And I'll be honest, for me especially, he didn't like overstep on like asking questions of the football team, but there were always questions, and I was happy to answer as many as I could. But throughout the whole Cyclone Fanatic like upbringing, I don't think I've ever seen a guy like commit to what he had during school, and so that's kind of his work ethic and what he actually did for Cyclone Fanatic is like unbelievable, especially at the age he was. And then Brent was involved at that time too. So to have those guys, I mean, it was pretty remarkable to see I think it was a pretty decent sized site, maybe, starting out, but like to see where it's transitioned to, and especially like seeing Chris put so much time and effort into it. It was remarkable. It was pretty fun.
Now, so were you, is it true you were maybe his sideline correspondent sometimes?
I think that's what it definitely came off that way with a couple coaches, one specifically. But like I said, Chris was very, it was never anything, it wasn't like I was leaking injuries or whatever. It was like, how'd the offense look? And I think I told you this, like media people, they're missing the ball. They need to go after the kickers and punters. I mean, we're working 4 periods and we've got 22 to do nothing. So we've got a front row seat to everything. I mean, and so what I mean by that is, watching offense play, new scholarship kids. What I did enjoy though was like they put us as like the tackling dummies for the DBs or like the quarterback for scout teams and stuff like that. So it was always fun to like do those things. But I mean, we get to pretty much just watch everything. And so, but Chris was very, he never overstepped anything, I would say, in terms of like questions or anything like that. And there's really not much, info you can really give anymore, especially in our there's people there all the time that can inform or whatever, take notes. But there was one instance where people found out that we lived together, and so I think the target was definitely put on me for that stuff. It partly true, I'd say, not mostly, but I'd only give him the good, I guess. How about that?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
So we had Culbertson on before you, and
Shag.
Yeah, and so he wanted me to tell you, hey,
good.
Now he played under Mac, and then 1 year under Chizik. You put under Mac, under Chizik, and under Rhoads. So I want to ask you, what you're probably one of, I don't know how many guys now.
I think there were 2 classes. I think it was my class and the class below me.
Excluding like the transfer portal where you're playing at different schools, you're maybe one of a handful of guys in, I don't know, the history of college football, we'll say, who's played under 3 head coaches at the same university. So what was it like playing under Mac, who then Chizik was different, and then Rhoads was different?
It's a great question. Not many people, I think they know. Some people probably know that, but nowadays, I mean, if you lose a coach, you can go wherever. You can pretty much go wherever you want now, anyways. But for me, as a punter, we weren't that great in some of those years. So I did get to play a lot. So as a punter, I didn't really think of it too, But the philosophies of what each coach brought were so much different. Like McCarney obviously was on the tail end of his years. And I had him for 2 years, and he recruited me with Chris Ash. And so Chris Ash, though, started with him, then left, and then actually came back with Rhoads. So that was like but I mean, what I take from it is that each program had McCarney, I'd say, was more of an energetic, on the field, like players type of guy. I don't know how many conversations I had with Gene Chizik, other than like maybe a handful of like one-on-one stuff. But he was more of like let your position coaches, I think, kind of run the team. And now, granted, he was much more defensive minded, so I think he took a lot more into that on the defensive side. But and then Rhodes, I'd say, is a good mixture of both. He was involved. He was kind of higher energy. He wanted to be there. I'm not going to say Chizik didn't want to be there, but I don't think many were overly surprised that he went to Auburn. I think that he had spoken about wanting to get back there eventually. But we found out on a Saturday morning. We were over we saw it on the bottom line. So that was a little different. Now, I'm not here to tear anything down, but I do think, though, what was spectacular is how, for me personally, kickers and punters can kind of isolate themselves if they want to, or they can be like a part of the team, for instance. And so I just say, like, even the defensive specialists, the offensive like coaches, I was, involved with all of them in some regard. Like Wally Burnham used to come and find me after I had like a punt inside the 10 or 15, whatever have you. And he like genuinely made me feel like great job, and Herman for the same thing. Like, thanks for bailing us out, like things like that. So I think all of the coaches that we've had, I mean, and if you think about it, there's upwards of 20-ish, I'd say, throughout the 3 years I was there. There's good and bad to all, but the stuff that sticks out the most is transitional phase, and it's not just for players too. Some of those coaches, they've got families, they've got kids. Like, where do they go after that? Like when Chizik left, where do they? Is he going to bring some? Are they retained? And there were some of those crossovers, but for the most part, I think it's built. At that age, 18 to 22, whatever have you. I got to see kind of what works, what doesn't work. So I've taken a lot of what I've learned over those timeframes, and there's a lot of adversity to go through. I mean, Christ, like when Chizik came in, it was basically, let's find out who wants to be here. And I mean, it was a dog show, man. So that was I remember those the most, though, like getting our asses kicked, more so than anything.
You remind me of you say that those guys have families. Like when Chizik left, I don't know where Shep left, where the strength coach Shep. But I
know Torrey Beckton's doing great. I mean, Torrey Beckton, I think, is the head man at Texas now. So I mean, a couple of those guys that were under them, but like you're right. Like I mean, I know some of the position coaches, like Chris, or not Ash wasn't with him, but he became head coach. Herman had his run, obviously. But the rest of them, I mean, I think we kept Finch for quarterbacks for Chizik, but I think he's now somewhere. I think he's still coaching. McFarland, I think, went to like the UFL, maybe. I remember him giving me a call. There was a couple other guys, but shit. I mean, Luke Wells was in there too. There was a lot of coaches that I got to cross paths with over that time frame. So I've kind of taken the high road in that and that experience. But from like a team standpoint, we weren't very good. No,
and I remember, Coach Shep, my freshman year in the weight room, trying to get us fired up.
Sure.
He was saying something about, I've been to the top of the mountain. I've won the championship. So you guys better listen to what I'm doing if you guys want that graffiti in your face.
Graffiti, yes, and we still reference it to this day. Like our little chat group, like, did you get graffiti in your face, or like anytime something special happens? Yeah, I mean, I remember Shep he would even put up the horn sometimes, like during like, but it's all where you come from. I mean, he came from Texas, so I get that, but like, I guess Mac, when he left, it was sad because of the tenure he had and the years he had. But I think everybody was pretty excited when Chizik came in, just from like what type of systems he's been a part of. And then having Rhodes come in, I would say he was kind of the low. I'm not going to. And this is no discredit to Coach Rhodes at all. He was awesome. I love him to death. I don't think he was like the highest profile type hire they could get, but he was what we needed at the time.
He wasn't splashy.
No, which you can appreciate. I mean, he helped coach us in special teams, for Christ's sakes. Like, that was what like I took from him, is that he was heavily involved with individuals rather than just being the figure.
Yeah. So I asked the same question to Culbertson, and he brought up your name. So I want to ask you, what do you remember from Culbertson's Cy-Hawk game, the one where he made five field goals? You were obviously on that team, Chizik's first year. What do you remember from that game?
Well, like it's weird. There's games that I can like really, I have got a really good memory on, and there are games that, you know, like, again, I don't know if you can look back and like remember your feelings before you make a kick, but like, you know, you only get 4 or 5 opportunities a game to be a kicker, right? And so, you know, if a football player, like a running back, fullback, whatever have you, like misses a block or whatever, not many people notice that. If a fumble happens or like a missed drop ball, sure, people see it, but like if we mess up, everybody knows. I mean, Christ, and they let you know too. Yeah. So, you know, dealing with that, but like for Brett, especially kind of you know, up to that, I think he had missed some kicks too that were in big moments. I did just go up to him and I was like, you know, Brett, you are single-handedly going to beat the Iowa Hawkeyes, and he did. Yeah. And he truthfully did. So that was a moment I think we shared. I think we'll both take it with us for a long time. But you know, I wish I could say I did more that game, but obviously I wasn't the one that had to make the points. He did.
So one of the biggest games when I think of when you and I played together was at Nebraska. We beat them.
I think was that 9-7?
Yeah. So that's one of my more fun games. I think in that game you might have had a fake punt. But when thinking back on your Iowa State days, what were some of the more memorable games for you?
That one for sure. But you know, like a year or maybe not, maybe 2 years prior to that, because I think we played them every other year, home and away, obviously. We ran a fake against Nebraska, and I got my ass knocked out a yard short of the first down. So, like if you go back and watch it, which I have, I mean, there was green space for days. And I mean, if I would have been like thinking about maybe like Lamach will still give me a hard time about it. But what even more like that I take from that game is I think I punted 9 times, maybe 10. And I think I had 7 inside the 20 that game. I think I averaged something like 50. Yeah, no, it was that probably I would say is my best game I've had. And I mean, the rush, I think it was like a 25-yard like fake. But the next play is when we scored. The next play is when Tiller hit Jake Williams in the end zone. So, you know, it was something for you that's even funnier, I would say, is if you recall warming up in that game, and goes back to the relationships I had with some of the coaches, I think you missed the field goal. Like, you know, like in pregame to like, you know, but we go down, I think you missed it. And the boos from that place, or, you know, like the laughs from that place just erupted. And Herman kind of looks at me and he's like, that's a good one. And like, we both, you know, but it was a moment we shared, just like, and I'm not calling you out kind of, but like, again, it's one of those that like, but you ended up, I mean, you had the document Sue coming at you, but I think you had a pretty long field goal you hit to take us. Cause he blocked the PAT, 50, right?
I had a 52-yarder like early in the game, which quieted him down. Then he blocked a PAT and a field goal. Because if you remember, Lamach was sick that game, and so I think Trey Basinger maybe filled in for him. And no disrespect to him, but Dominican Sue just bull rushed him and just knocked him.
He bull rushed everybody. I wouldn't worry about it. I'd be proud he blocked my kicks.
Well, he blocked my kick. And I remember thinking like, sometimes when a guy will block your kick, you'll kind of give him like a nudge, like, oh, get out of here. I remember like look at him.
Yeah, I don't know if I do that.
You're a big son of a gun.
You know, and so like a bad game I remember was Toledo, and I don't think you were on the team yet.
You probably played against Julian Edelman then.
He went to Kent State, but yes, we did play
Kent
him
State,
too.
Yeah.
We did play him too. But we played at Toledo, and honestly, the game should have never even been close. But like, I'd say the end of the game is where we had a lot of special teams miscues. And so there's a guy, Matt Purvis was a great snapper. So was Dakota Zimmerman. They were both great. But long story short, I'll try to make this quick. When you go to Toledo, it is a turf field. Like there is no, and I mean, it was not nice turf. I mean, this was like concrete turf.
Like AstroTurf.
Oh, absolutely. But it's like they never replaced it or never fixed it either. So it was honestly like concrete. And the equipment managers, you know, they brought shoes for players to play on turf, but they didn't have kicking cleats or anything like that for turf. And so, you go out there. I mean, I remember something like either Grebe or maybe it was Culbertson. Like for me to take 3 steps and kick a ball is a little bit easier than to try to kick a field goal. I mean, it's a steeper angle. You got a plant foot. I mean, I remember like Brett slipping and falling a few times trying to kick. But what I'm getting at is that Purvis sent a snap to me that was short, and it skipped by me. I mean, it flew by me, man. And I'm on my cleats. So I try to turn and run after it, and I just eat shit. And so I'm sorry if I can't swear on this, but I remember very vague and try to run and sprint after a loose ball and cleats on AstroTurf. Again, if you haven't done it, I don't recommend it, but you'll understand what I'm saying here. And I tried my best to hit the ball out of the end zone. I didn't. And I think they recovered it in the end zone. We were still winning the game. But then, long story short, we ended up losing the game from I can't remember if it was a blocked field goal. They were it just did not end well for us, and it was a bad game overall for the special teams. Now,
just special teams mishaps.
The best games, though, I'll tell you, I didn't punt in a few, which those are the best games in my opinion. Yeah. But looking back on it, I think my best games I had were always against Nebraska, Iowa. The Brodell, he had a return on me that was great. The Iowa game was always just so amped up for a lot of different people, especially if you're from Iowa. And so, family, friends, all that stuff. And being from Eastern Iowa, it was much more black and gold. But, playing Iowa, I'd say we beat them. I think I went 2-3 against Iowa. Which there's a couple guys that went 4-0 whatever have you, but I think for me personally, Nebraska, I always, for whatever reason, always had great games. I think my longest punt was in Oklahoma. It was AP's. He had 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then fell in the end zone and separated his shoulders. But
I didn't know you're on the team then.
Yeah. I was a freshman. That was the longest punt I think I've ever had. We had a couple good fakes too. I think I went 8 for 9 throughout my career, and I would know. But the one I didn't make was against Nebraska 2 years prior. I got knocked out. Steve Octavian was his name. Hit me right under the chin.
I love that about Coach Rhoads. How Coach Rhoads was just such a riverboat gambler, and we always went into his office. We've talked about this on the podcast before. We'd go into his office, Mondays or whatever, and more or less dump out some sand and start drawing out play, fakes. And so that's what I loved about Coach Rhoads.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the Iowa game being from Eastern Iowa, so I'm not sure if you grew up a Hawk fan or not, but walk me through how you got to Iowa State and then kind of your path to becoming the starting punter.
So I played football for Davenport Assumption, and I don't think being a punter was really what I did. I mean, I played all positions, receiver, corner, safety, and at Assumption, you basically, especially when I was there, we had a lot of two-way players, so you play the whole game. But we needed a punter, and going to my senior year, our head coach had said, his name's Wade King, was hey, I want you to go to this camp, whatever, because at the time I was so raw. I mean, very raw. But if I caught one, it was gone. And so I went to Jamie Cole's camp in Iowa. And for whatever reason, I think Jamie took a liking to me, and we become really close, really good friends. But I think he saw that I had, when I would hit 1 out of 10 and it would be great. He really invested a lot of time in me. And so I think then my senior year going into it, I was first team All-State. I think I had a pretty high average on a couple, 20 so punts or whatever, but still pretty raw. So Chris Ash recruited me. I could have went to Northern Iowa, North Carolina State, a couple other places, but Iowa was one that they had David Bradley, and then they had another guy below him. So they weren't looking for a punter at the time. But at the same token, I'm glad I made the decision I did, because I didn't realize you don't really look at the rosters, or I never really did. I don't know if you did, if you knew what year some of the guys were. I had Troy Blankenship and I had Tony Elk, and they were both on their way out. And so
studs.
They were both great. And so they actually helped me the most, especially like with what I, you know, becoming like an actual punter, because I was very raw at the time, but they helped me the most. Obviously, like camps with Jamie. I think what's even more interesting, like along those lines, is like how I, got better over the years, or going to those camps in the summer times. I mean, we had Pat McAfee, we had Thomas Morstead, we had Hunter Lawrence, you had you name it. At that time frame that we were there, everybody was good. I mean, we had Marquette King, and for all the people that aren't special teams people, these are guys that played in the NFL a long time. And so getting, creating friendships with those guys, watching their games, and then going and competing with them, it's almost like if you compete at that level, or you practice at that level, you get better. And so that's, I think, what I really accredit to, like, me becoming a good college punter. The philosophies too. I owe Jay Bulwer a lot. I was very good directionally, and he drove that home. And it was almost like psychotic how he was, like left and right, and the punt scheme. So working on directional stuff that really, I think, made me better. And I had Zach Sandvig on the outside, who was a missile. So he helped me a ton too. But I guess, for me to say like what drove me to do this, or like, I don't know if I think there was a little bit of luck involved with my coach telling me to go, and get involved with Jamie. But also I think I ended up being pretty good.
And, so you mentioned those guys that that they're in the NFL, and for me, it's really cool because you were there, and Culbertson talked about this too early on at the Coles camp when it was small, and it's huge now. But it was cool for me, seeing knowing those guys, knowing Thomas Morstead, knowing Pat McAfee. For me,
yeah,
I forgot about him. You were right there neck and neck with McAfee, and so it's for me, it's really cool to see at those camps how like I measured up against, like I was going against like Justin Tucker,
right? Best to do it.
Some of those guys, and just how I measured up, and for me, you were neck and neck with Pat McAfee, and to see like the success he had. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes too, it's almost a luck of the draw too of where you land in the NFL, and so you had a cup of coffee, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm not sure if you went to any other teams or not after that, but I wanted to ask you because we've had some guys on that are in the NFL, but I don't think we've had any punters on. So I wanted to ask you, what was your experience like, when you got the call from the Jags and just your time there? Because I have to imagine there are probably 2 or 3 maybe punters at training camps.
Yeah, we had 3, and they had Adam Podlish, who was there, who's really good. He played in the NFL for a long time, and then I think his name is Robert Malone. He came from like San Jose State, maybe, or one of those schools out in California. And I'll tell you what was unique to me, that like the thing that stood out, I guess, the most is like the coaching and everything is pretty similar, I guess, from like what we had, but like you're automatic. And I say this too, like, who you're kicking the ball to and who's catching the ball is one of the best athletes, probably, or one of the 30 best or 32 best on each team. And so when I go back to that, just it's all about a business too there. It's all like, this isn't just, if you miss a kick, if you hit a punt, like, like they're paying you to do this now. And I think even Pat, like you've heard him talk about it before, like it's hard to conceptualize that at like 22, like you can make a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but like each punt has a value. Like an actual dollar value to it. And so, I'm not going to sit here and talk about it like the NFL stuff too much, because I had a chance, but it is all about like timing and where you go. And to think about it like this is what I tell people: there's only 32 of them that get to sign and be on a team. And that is a very unique small group of people. So as gifted as I was and as talented as I was, it goes to show you like how good some of those guys are. Like Thomas Morstead, for instance, I think he just signed for his 17th year. 17 years in the NFL.
Crazy.
And he was a little scrawny guy too. He was like you, but maybe 6'4", in high school and even at SMU. But he grew and grew, man. And I'll tell you what I take from it more so than anything too is like you nailed it. Like competing against those guys that are now like the best to ever do it, like Justin Tucker. Like, are you kidding me? You got to like compete with him, and you probably beat him in some instances. Like, so that's what I like to look back on more so than anything. I did train Marquette King though. I will take credit for him.
He's a dog.
He was raw too, and I taught him a little bit, just a touch. But he was like, again, more athletic. He was an athlete that just could hammer the ball.
He's making some music now. If you haven't heard his,
is that right?
Songs.
I'll have to check it out.
It's like house music. It's
perfect. Even better. No, but and then, like looking back on it too, just talking about that, going through coaches and stuff. Like I just remember like Jay Boulware, even when we were in the Big 12, we had some good teams we played. And basically it was like, Brandtner, if you don't kick this ball out of bounds, or if you don't put this ball towards the sideline or a target, the guy that's catching is far more athletic than anybody we got. And it was like Des Bryant, Jeremy Macklin. I could go on. And it's like, it's true. So, I mean, punting, it's such a different, people are like, oh, just go out there and kick it far. Well, the more space you give them, the better opportunity they have to bust one. So, I guess, I enjoyed the hell out of doing it, and I had a lot of good memories from it. But like the guys in the locker room and getting to engage with even the guys on our team and like the opposing teams before the game. Like I remember during warmups, we'd be sending balls into the team stretching, trying to hit people. Just like that stuff was so much fun to do, and not many people get to experience that stuff. So that's what I take from it.
Last question I got for you, Mike, is if you have any locker room stories, like when you think about your days at Iowa State, not just the games, but if you have any locker room stories that come to mind for you.
Yeah, and I mean, God, you name them. I mean, there were. God, where do I begin? How deep can I take this, Grant?
However far you want. Jeff and I were off one time. I'm not sure if you're on the team when Judah Linder and Bo Williams got in a fight in the weight room.
I remember, I think, hearing rumblings of that, but like there was a lot of fights. I remember Chris Singleton and Ryan Baum got in one. You definitely weren't there for that. That was a meet. So Chris Singleton came in as a true freshman and played, and Baum was like probably in rotation with the receivers, but he was more of a punt returner. But I mean, they got into it in practice one time, and it did not stop there. It did not. It came into the locker room, but. Like the one I like really rings the bells. I brought his name up earlier. He was one of our long snappers, but Purvis was really good. But he, for whatever reason, had to throw up for every game. I mean, I'm talking
nervous Purvis.
And so like once he threw up though, man, he was back. And so, but he would just be like always so tensed up before the game. And like, each teach their own, but like, he would just let it go. I mean, I'm talking like he was fighting for his life in there. That's one that is like pretty, but I don't think we had too many fights. I mean, there was always a handful a year. I'm not going to lie. But it was always like competitive stuff. I don't remember Judah and Bo's, but that would have been one to watch, I'm sure.
That's how Judah broke his jaw. Bo popped up and broke his jaw.
Do you have to get wired?
Yeah.
I think now that's ringing a bell. Yeah, that one's ringing a bell. God, that's bad.
And
I wonder what it was over. I wonder what it was about.
Well, so one of them was late. One of them was late coming in. Like I think Bo came in like right as we were starting. Say you lift at 6, you need to be there at if you're there at 5:55, you're late.
Sure.
And Bo got there like 5:59. And Judah had said something like, ha, come on, man, you gotta be here on time. And Bo was not having it. And Bo was like, what the fuck, what'd you say? Judah popped up in his face. And you heard you heard his jaw pop. Oh, I'm coming from Eastern Iowa where there, a decently nice high school. There's not really any fights. I'm not used to this. And I see this, I'm like, oh God.
Did you get in there?
I got in and broke. No.
Yeah.
No, I was on the end of it, but I heard the pop. And then Judah, I Judah
He didn't
finished the
recover.
workout. No,
No, probably not. Probably
he
not.
went. Yeah, I think he just went to the trainers right away, and yeah, he never really.
Some of the other, like just another like little locker room, weight room story. Like I remember, like when Shep came, he had us take these like pre-summer photos where we dropped down to our like spandex, and we all
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, here's my fat ass, like just standing like, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of like improvement here, buddy. You know, like I remember that. Like, I'm trying to think though if there's any. I mean. There were fights, but I don't really remember anything like that pressing of like, oh shit, I remember that day. Um, but like even practices though, like going back to what I was telling you about how like we could watch everything. I remember KO came in and he was on the scout. They almost had to take him out of because he would just dominate everybody.
As like a true freshman?
Yes, yeah. Like he was that good and like he was just pummeling like our starters. Like and so I remember like they were like you gotta because I think he redshirted. I want to say I'm pretty sure he did, but like they like him, like he was a freak. He stood out. LJ, I think LJ got into I think he got into some arguments with people. He was a competitive guy.
He did.
He was a competitive guy. He was good. My locker roommate was Houston Jones. He was number 14. He was a guy that made it all the way through with us. But I was number 13. So I was like right at the front end. I was with all like the number 1, 2. I mean, those were like the big name guys, so I had a front row seat to a lot of good stuff. Like, and then Ataba Rubin sat across from me. I don't know if you remember Tuba. Probably not.
I never played with him, but I remember. I know the name.
Oh my God. He was a load, just a monster of a human being. Absolutely. But I think for everything that I had to experience at Iowa State, like taking the friends, the people, but like, some people look at having all the coaches we had as like a bad thing, and it is. It sucks, but like you also can grow from stuff like that. You get a lot of people teaching you a lot of different philosophies, but at the end of the day, my time at Iowa State was so much fun. Like it was so much fun, especially like having fun guys that I've continued relationships with over time. So. The one thing though that being a punter, especially, or like a kicker, even when you're in college, that you deal with is like, are you a part of the team? Some people are like, oh, you're just a kicker, like you're not part of the team. I can tell you, like we went through everything everybody else did, and yeah, granted, we weren't like as athletic or like appealing as some of these guys. I'm glad that these guys, like the friends that I've had and teammates that I've had, respected us as players, or guys that were part of the team too.
Yep, and I can echo that sentiment too. A lot of times, yeah, I've heard that too. Oh, you're a kicker, you're not really part. You're a real football player. I'm like, well, kind of.
Right.
But
right. No, but I mean, other than that, man, I like I said, I enjoyed the hell out of it. We just had our golf tournament back there last week. I got to see a bunch of the guys, older, younger, you name it. It's always fun to go back. I went back for a game last year. I'll probably bring my 2 boys to a game this year. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we'll have to link up.
Absolutely.
If you make it back, I'm in Des Moines. I'm not too far, but I appreciate coming on, Mike. Like I said, I want to make sure I got you and Culbertson on before we officially wrapped up Kicking It. You guys both brought me on.
Culbertson was a goat, man. I mean, you talk about him, like he'd walk out of the locker room to go to pregame. I mean, there were kids screaming his name like you wouldn't believe. He got more screams than like Brett Meyer.
Yeah.
I mean, like Shaggy, like talk about a legend. That guy's a legend.
Yeah, no, he is for sure. So this will be a fun episode for the listeners. And like I said, I appreciate jumping on. This was enjoyable for me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you, Grant.
Thanks, Mike. We'll talk to you later.
See you, buddy.
That was punter Mike Brandtner. Always great to catch up with him. He's got stories, and Mike is he's a talker, and I mean that in the best way. As he mentioned, he used to live with Chris Williams, so I'm sure he's got a lot of stories with Williams. He could talk your ear off in the best way possible for hours and hours and hours. So I'm glad that I was able to catch up with him and get just a short half hour out of him. And as I mentioned on last week's episode, this will be one of the final episodes of Kicking It. It's the prequel to the finale. We do have a special guest on, who's I don't know. I'm sure he may enjoy a nice lavender lemonade in the summer, just that nice lavender color. I don't know. Never asked him. But make sure you guys tune into that. Next week will be the finale of Kickin' It. But for now, I'm Grant Mahoney. Thanks to Aiden behind the boards for running this show. Jeff is out this week, but he'll be back next week. And thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening and who have been loyal listeners and supporters of the Kickin' It podcast over the years. And as always, remember, adopt, don't chop.